So here we go. First video that's actually going to go to YouTube. Here I am. So I just want to start off by saying I'm speaking to someone out there. I don't know who yet. There's someone who needs to hear what I have to say. I'm following what God's told me to do. I know some people think that sounds crazy, but I'm going to start with telling you my story, and maybe it resonates and maybe not. But it's a story of someone, and it's a true story, and it's mine, who held darkness and hatred and just a blackness in her heart. I held it in my heart for 30 years. And the thing that I want to make sure that I do is I want to reach someone who won't do that, who won't follow in my footsteps. I don't want you, if you have some kind of forgiveness, if you have someone in there that you just hate so much and you can't let it go, I'm here to tell you to don't come my way. Don't waste 30 years. So now I'm going to rewind and tell you how it went down. So I was 17 years old and I got pregnant, and my mama had raised me, she had raised me on the picket line of abortion, anti-abortion. So the first thought was not to get an abortion. My first thought, actually, I was thrilled, and my friends thought I was crazy that I was that thrilled, but I was thrilled that I was having a baby. I was getting ready to graduate high school. I was graduating with my cosmetology degree, so I was going to be able to get a job. Like I said, I wasn't looking at how much does it cost to have a baby, I wasn't looking at all of that. All I was filled with emotion that I was going to have a baby, someone to love me. So anyway, fast forward, her dad and I, we didn't work out. That ended very soon. Had her on, let's see, so she was due on February 8th. I was 1991. She was due February 8th, 1991. February 8th came and went. I was doing hair. I remember standing there cutting people's hair, and they would be like, "Oh, when are you due?" And I was like, "Oh, last Tuesday." And they'd be like freaking out because they were like, "Make it through my haircut." So anyway, finally had that little baby on February 26th of 1991. She was beautiful. She was everything you could imagine. She was just, my heart was completely and utterly changed. We had a wonderful time. We did Halloween. It was just, life was good. Life was good. I was broke, but I was doing hair. I was doing the best. I lived with my mom. She supported everything I did. She loved that baby and me with everything we had. And then the day came. One morning I was on my way to work, and I was driving through an intersection, and as I was coming up to that intersection, I saw one of those conversion vans. The vans that have the tall ceiling in the back. So anyway, I saw that at the stop sign. It was a stop sign. And as I was passing, I could kind of see, I felt like he was going to come out on me. So I remember taking my foot off of the gas and onto the brake, thinking, oh gosh, is he going to come out? So before, I could just see him kind of nosing. And so I had taken my foot off to see what he was going to do, make sure that he wasn't going to pull out in front of me. And then he kind of rocked back, so I was like, okay, cool. So I kept going. And then from the corner of my eye is when I saw him jet out. And he hit me in the rear, spun my car around, and on the other side of the highway, it was just a 2-lane highway, but on the other side of that highway, there was a concrete power tower, and it had those concrete things on the bottom. And my car pretty much was hit. He hit that, spun me into the concrete power line. I was knocked unconscious, thankfully. I woke up to a very nice lady. I think her name was Vicky. She had her head in the passenger side of the door. Evidently I had to hit and bounced off a little bit. She had her head in the passenger side of the door. She was holding my hand, and she started praying with me. I woke up. It was snowing that morning, but it was just snowing enough to be pretty, not snowing enough to have anything on the road. But I woke up, and the radio was still on in my car, and it kind of reminded me of Star Wars. The way the snow was coming down at me kind of felt like Star Wars happening. And so she immediately started praying with me. She turned my radio off, immediately started praying. The next thing, and I kept asking about Amanda. How's Amanda? What's going on? What's happening? And she just kept praying. Well, then, the next thing I know, I hear a male voice, or I felt a male. I kind of turned and I saw a Levi's. That's all I remember was Levi's pocket leaning in behind me. And she kept praying. And then I heard a male voice say, "We've got an infant that's not breathing." Well, if anyone's a mother knows, I freaked out. I started, like panicking, trying to turn around, and she just kept, "No, they're here. They're taking care of her. Don't worry. We have to get you checked out. You have to take care of yourself too. Don't turn around. They've got her. They've got her. They've got her. The paramedics are here. They're taking care of her." Like she was just reassuring me and kept praying with me. And so, like, as much as she reassured me, I just knew everything was going to be fine. So he took me out of the car, and I remember there was a gentleman that had an antique store, and he brought me some blankets. It was some wool blankets that he brought to put over me, and I remember saying I didn't want the blankets. I wasn't cold, which means you're in shock. I didn't know at the time because it was snowing. But anyway, so Mom had gotten there. They called Mom. She got there. When she showed up, lo and behold, it was a police officer that had hit me. And when she got there to me, they had already taken Amanda away and in one ambulance, and they were waiting for another ambulance for me. When they got there, my mother said that the man that hit me was in his van, and there were about 6 to 8 police officers surrounding him. And then when she came to me, it was me and this person that had been shopping at the 7-Eleven, Vicky, and the gentleman from, I guess, the antique store. So it was two people with me who were not law enforcement, and all the law enforcement were around him, his vehicle. So fast forward, ambulance comes. They come take me away. I have a little picture of her up in my visor. I grabbed that. I had it. They were talking to me. It was all well and good. Anyway, long story short, I get to the hospital. They check me out. I keep asking her about her. They keep telling me everything's fine. I want to see her. Everything's fine. We got to check you out. Got to keep you down. They tied me down because they had to check my neck. They were afraid I'd broken my neck. Whatever. I don't know. But finally, a police officer came in to interview me. That's all I know. I just told him what I knew. Like I had been driving to work and what I saw, which I already told you just now. And then they dropped the bomb on me that Amanda's neck had been broken, and that they were keeping her alive. They were keeping her alive with machines, but that she was brain dead and there was no hope. And pretty much they weren't giving me a choice to tell me to keep her alive or not. They were told me that she was gone. So from there, they said I could go in and see her after they had deemed me okay to get around. So they wheeled me. Back then they had to wheel you out to the car. They couldn't let you walk yet. So they wheeled me out, put me in a hallway, because in the hallway, lo and behold, police officers had gone in ahead of me. And so we were in the hallway. I was sitting in a wheelchair. Everybody else was standing. My mother had gotten there. My aunt had gotten there. Probably my grandmother. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was her too. My best friend had gotten there. So we had quite the little troop there surrounding me by then. And we stood in that hallway for about 20 minutes standing outside that door where the police had barricaded themselves in and would not let us in. And then when they finally came out, they had a camcorder box. They had photography equipment. They barely even looked at us, and they left. And then I remember going in and seeing my little girl's face. They had her covered up, so I really, they had her covered up to her neck. She had little tiny cuts on her face from where the glass had shattered and kind of came in on her. But besides that, she looked perfect. So that was the day that I was forever changed. You never know what instant you're going to change. One day, life is great, and it takes one little instant for your very core to be different. And that was my day. It was February 8th, of 1992. She would have been a year old on February 26th. If I had followed Mom's due date, she would have been a year old that day. So there's the first coincidence. She was, there's lots and lots of little coincidences in her life to make me know that God's hand was completely in her life. And so I'm going to revert back for just a minute to that is why I'm here, because I feel like God's hand is in all of this. I am supposed to be here telling this story. I struggled with it. I ran from it. I kind of had this big thought of, well, who am I? Who wants to listen to me? Who do I think I am to get, have a YouTube channel? But I'm being prodded. And one of the things that is prodding me too, and I'm going to take a little side trip here. I found God in a new way. I've always believed in God. I've always loved God. I've always considered myself a Christian. But of course, I also was a teenager and I was a young person and I did things that I didn't think God would approve of. So I didn't actively seek God because I was more interested in the earthly things that I wanted to still do with my friends and with boyfriends and whatever else. So, I didn't devote myself to learning or any of that because I knew I was still doing things I ought not be doing, but I really wanted to do them. So I found God in a new way. I went for a long time to a Unity Christ Church, and that we believed there in a lot of we believed there were many paths to God, and I still believe there are many paths to God, that you don't have to be one religion or another to be able to find God, to be able to love God. But I went to that church for a long time, and that church truly did save my life, because again, at that time I wanted to get remarried, or anyway, that's forward. But I stopped going to that church for a while because my current husband, he wasn't a fan. He felt like it was kind of like an AAA meeting. If you've ever been to a Unity church, you might feel like it's an AA meeting because it's, talking about God. But anyway, I was introduced by a couple of my clients, invited me to a Bible study, and I went to it, and it changed me. It really, really changed me and brought me to a new relationship with God. And before I was in that relationship with God, even though I got married, I had more kids, I got divorced, I raised my 2 children, I had a happy life, but I still had that blackness somewhere in my heart. I had that I had just covered up, that I bandaged over, that I was just living with, and it always just put just a tiny little thing, what could have been such a glorious, beautiful life. I did have a glorious, beautiful life. Don't get me wrong. I had a wonderful life. I loved raising my 2 girls. Lots and lots of things I had wonderful. So I'm not trying to say I had a terrible life by any means, but there's a freedom in my heart that I did not have. There was a freedom that was missing, that I didn't know I was missing, because I wouldn't face the forgiveness of what happened next in my story, of what happened after she died. It was about when she died, that changed the fiber of my being. It changed who I was. I was suddenly in this club of bereaved parents that no one ever wants to be in. But if you are one of those people, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you don't want anyone to be in this club, but you are together. You are. I don't care what walk of life you are. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care any political views. I don't care any of that. If you've lost a baby, a child, no matter what age, you have a community and a love for another human being that you don't even know, just because you've done this same thing and you can relate. But anyway, that's another side note. So here I am in this new relationship with God, and I recognize that it is time to tell this story now, because I finally after 30 years felt the forgiveness, the freedom, and I released it. Like, people talk about the weight off your shoulders, and I was like, what? The weight off your shoulders? No, it is the truth. The weight that came off of my shoulders when I experienced that forgiveness finally of the police officers that were involved in the situation. And again, I'm almost where I was going to go, so I need to keep these videos short. So the next video, I'm going to delve deeper and tell you the rest of that story. But what I want to say is, I've always wanted to tell this story. I've always wanted to write a book. I had the pen in my hand. I was ready to go. I could never get past it. And now I see why. The reason, my friend, that I have not told the story until now is because had I told this story 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, had I told the story when I wanted to tell it, it would have been out of such anger and out of such revenge. I wanted revenge on the people that I felt like had wronged me. And I'm not talking about the wreck. Yes, the wreck, but more so. More happened than that. But I wanted revenge, and I wanted to smear those people, and I wanted to make them pay. But since I have felt this forgiveness, and since I have felt this new direction in my life, I can now tell you the story out of love and from a story of moving with God. And that, my friends, is how God wants me to tell this story. He didn't want me to tell this story with anger and with hate and with such darkness in my heart. He wanted me to tell this story in a way that's going to glorify Him. And that, my friends, is where I'm at. And that is what this whole channel is going to be, is telling our stories, telling our children's stories, telling our loved ones' stories, and telling God's stories. Mostly God's stories. And how He has changed me and how He's changed others that I'll find once this thing gets going. Like I said, I'm just here to press and play and talking to you today. So my husband and I have a camper down at a campground, and I'm on my way back from my grandbaby's birthday party. I'm now 53-year-old grandma of 5. Well, I kind of lost 2 in a divorce, so 3. I had Amanda, lost Amanda, got married to my ex-husband, had another baby, and we got custody of his child, who I met when she was 2. She was almost the same age as Amanda. She's 2 months older than Amanda would have been. She was, but no, Amanda was 2 months older. Amanda was February, Brittany is May. So Amanda was a few months older than Brittany, but I met Brittany a year after Amanda died. It gave me just enough time to heal a bit so that I could look at children again. But again, as parents know, once you've been a mama, you can't stop. So I had healed enough to be able to look at a child. And when Brittany came into my life, her mom was going through some stuff her own self, and she wasn't being able to actively mother her child. And I needed a child to mother. So I was able to have her under my wing and raise the child that I wanted so very much. And Brittany needed a mama to take care of her right there. So I had 2 children. I born 2 children, and I raised 2 children. And then Brittany has 1 baby who is now 15. I know. I have a 15-year-old grandbaby. And then Haley, my biological child, she has, as of today, a 6-year-old granddaughter and an 8-year-old grandson. So I am so blessed that I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. My daughter had 2. I thought maybe the reason why Amanda lived and died was so that I could raise Brittany, because I wouldn't have been in a space to raise Brittany otherwise. And then when she got older, she was raising her stepchildren. Sadly, that did not end as well as I had hoped, because something big is going on here at the campgrounds. We've got all kinds of cars here. Rainy weekend. Memorial, we've needed so much rain, so we're happy to have rain, but man, it had to happen on Memorial Day weekend. We had so many events planned. But anyway, so continue on with my story. Keep playing, hit and play if you don't mind, if you would like to know my story and what happened to my dear sweet girl, and the healing that took place as time moved on. I do want to focus on it, healing rather than anger. That is my goal. So stick with me. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate you being here. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.